You're welcome back. This is your most authoritative news analysis show, Newsfile. And Ken Ox in North Jolo says, Samson, on corruption, I feel when leaders award corrupt servants with presidential appointment, it gives other public servants motivation to entertain this deadly practice. Okay, so that's what he has to say on corruption. And also, Inusa Hafiz says, unfortunately, corruption is widespread in government agencies and public enterprises. Our political system promotes nepotism and wasting money. This has undermined our legal system and confidence in the functioning of the state. One of the consequences is that many citizens don't pay their taxes. Thank you for those messages. Now, on Sundays, the footballers meet at the park and the Omutuo guys at their joints. The church folks share the grace and friends and family come over to visit. But now with MTN Sunday Special, your Sunday just got more special. For only 50 pesos, you can text and talk all day, every Sunday. So, who is it you are talking to? Is it your loved one? Is it your mom? Is it your dad? Is it your sister, brother, or that special somebody? Just keep talking all day, every Sunday with MTN Sunday Special. Send yes to MTN short code 5050 to sign up and say welcome to the new world. MTN everywhere you go. And Bank of Africa, they've got tailor-made products to meet both your corporate and individual banking needs. Visit them or call Bank of Africa. Their branch is on 0244-338226, 0244-338226, and discover a product that suits your lifestyle or business. Bank of Africa, strong as a group and close as a partner. And Star Assurance wants me to remind you that they have a unique partnership with CEGA Air Ambulance to give you top quality medical assistance to anywhere you are going. So they'll give you a policy that will make sure that wherever you are in the world, Star Assurance will make sure that when it comes to events of loss of baggage, medical and hospital expenses in case of accident and repatriation of corpse, in the unlikely event of death, they will take care of you. And so what you need is a Star travel policy, is a Star Express travel policy, Star Express travel policy, powered by Amidios. Call them on 0302 240 632, 0302 240 632, or you can log on onto starassurance.com. Star Assurance, that is your solid partner. And very finally, if I may remind you again, last week I did indicate to you that there is a very fantastic Christmas package that Latida is giving you. All you need to do is to get a voucher, and when you get that voucher, you will be entitled to stuff like what I'm wearing. A lot of you are sending text messages about how nice the shirt is for you, right? All you need to do is to call 020-336-444, 020-336-444, and just pick a voucher, and you will get good, nice African prints to give as gifts and to use for yourself this Christmas. So what are we talking about in this segment? We're looking at Nana Akuffo at Aliu Mahame's anniversary, and he gave that very interesting speech, and he spoke about a number of issues concerning the economy and the nation Ghana itself. Now, in summary, in my introduction, you would have heard me say that he said Ghana is on a downward slope, calamitous decline, investors are totally perplexed, and that everything has gone spectacularly wrong. Is this verdict a correct verdict? And within this, he also had to speak about what he felt might be an over-bloated budget for the Kasua interchange. That is a $172 million project. That appears to have taken all the attention. But we'll look at that also in connection with some of the things that he had to say. And of course, there's a 1 billion euro bond. Government has come out to explain that the NPP or Dr. Baumia and the NPP are wrong in suggesting that those monies have been put to some very dubious usage. Let me now welcome Abdul Malik Kwekubaku Jr., Editor-in-Chief of the New Crusading Guide newspaper, and our regular panelist also is Dr. Anthony Akoto Osei, who is a spokesperson of the Minority on Finance and is MP for Old Tafo. Good morning, gentlemen, and welcome to the studio.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Right. We're supposed to have Edward Bauer, who is Communications Consultant to the Energy Ministry, and Kessel Addo Forcing, who tells us that he's almost here. Thank you very, very much. Now, I'd like to start with Kweku on this one. Now, Kweku, in Addo's statement, he makes some very categorical pronouncements, and people have taken him on for some of those comments. He says, for example, that this is how he began. He says, according to the current statistics, less than half the number of children born in Ghana today are going to have their births registered. Therein lies the genesis of the lack of reliable data. I remember you talk about reliability of data and how you always want to give the benefit of the doubt to the state source of data. He says, therein lies the lack of reliability of data for all sectors of our society. It is manifested in dubious voting registers and in our under-17 football team being disqualified for fielding overage players. No modern society functions effectively without reliable data, and we should start with making sure every child born in Ghana is registered. Many aspects of our national life are not functioning properly, and this undermines all the best laid down plans. Securing the future means planning. Addo says, we are not planning. And even if we are doing so, the data doesn't exist to be able to plan properly. And this is how to secure a better future for Ghana.
Yes, I'm not too sure this is in dispute. It is not debatable.
Right.
I mean, to a large extent, we've always talked about poor record keeping or even non-existent record keeping that doesn't exist, and the challenges that these pose to nation building. So I'm not sure that I was saying anything new. For me, it was only reinforcing what many people already know to be the fact. There may be improvements here and there in certain areas as a nation, because I don't think we have been a static or stagnant nation. But largely, his verdict is right. It's a political judgment he's made. Don't forget, he's a politician. He's a flag bearer for a political party, a major one at that. He's taking a critical look at the scene, and he makes the judgment. In terms of the state of the economy, particular focus on energy, clearly something is wrong fundamentally. So that's undeniable. Some of our social services, we are not delivering well on them. That's also not something that we should be challenging anybody. What we should rather be doing is to be honest with ourselves, accept that here we have a crisis on our hands, and proceed to develop the capacity, both institutionally and in terms of human resource.
Is he running away from reality when he says the MPP's fortunes are not tied to the NDC's failure?
Well, I would say partially, but not entirely. The performance of the government of the day will have an impact on the chances of the NPP, as well as how people perceive whether the government's own level of competence. But then you don't actually seek refuge, or you don't bank all your hopes on the competence or otherwise ineptitude or otherwise of an incumbent government, and think automatically that would result in a victory for an opposition party. That would be the greatest level of naivety for any politician, dangerous line of thinking. But it's also quite clear that the performance of an incumbent government has an impact on elections and the way people think.
He says this on the back of what many say has been his trump card to, getting into the Flagstaff House on the free SHS policy. And he says that I need to state here one of my fundamental beliefs. The NPP's fortunes do not depend on the NDC failing. If President Mahama is indeed introducing free HSS in the 2015-2016 academic year, I would say hallelujah and be thankful to the Almighty for this particular road to Damascus movement. It means that we all now agree that it is both doable and necessary. And then he ends by saying, Amen. Now, some say he's not being sincere with this because this is all he has. This is his ticket to the Flagstaff House.
That's a patriot. It was the patriot in Nana Akuffo that spoke. And if you recall, last week, before I made my submission, substantive submission on this free secondary high school thing, I recollected what he said when President Mahama first made what we all perceive as a U-turn. Akuffo welcomed that U-turn and said that once was in the national interest, it should be pursued. So that was to show the kind of consummate politician that he was. So to be honest with you, when he reinforced it, I was damn happy. Okay, I clapped for him whilst I was sitting in my small corner listening to the thing.
So did you get the impression that he's not going into 2016 with this policy any longer?
He could still go with it. After all, it's a principle, it's a philosophy, it's a policy, good for this country. So you can still articulate it. And don't forget, 2015 is just around the corner. The government is supposed to start implementation of their idea of it. The implementation itself will tell us how well prepared they are and even how sincere they are. In the course of the implementation, a lot of education will come up. People's perceptions and people's consciousness will develop on that score. But why? Something that is in our national interest cannot be monopolized by any one particular party, no matter how vigorous one side projected it. Okay? If anything, there's the other side of the coin. Well, if you are implementing it, that's a vindication of a position I held. So it shows that I was far-sighted. I had more vision than you had. There's two ways to it. But key point, Ghanaians want it implemented. That's the idea. We want it properly implemented because it is in the public interest, in the national interest to do that. Why should we tag ourselves, get stuck in a corner because this man has started or has not started? We've explained, you see, we've gone beyond that stage. Sometimes I like to move forward. It's only when our friends try to suggest that the opposition earlier was not what we are saying it was. And that's why I keep on asking where the Otabil tape came from and what it was supposed to achieve. But we've passed that stage. Let's look forward. Let's see how they are going to implement it. And in the process, we'll be making judgment.
Now, Doc, Nana makes reference to the Global Competitiveness Report and uses that to tell us that, look, this economy is on a downward slope. It's on a calamitous decline. And some say, how can you be that negative at looking at the economy? He says, according to the latest Global Competitiveness Report by the World Economic Forum, out of 144 countries studied worldwide, Ghana's budget deficit was better than only three other countries. We placed 141st. Ghana's annual rate of inflation was better than just four other countries. The government's debt as a percentage of GDP has grown, putting us at 100 on the list. And yet, significant portions of Ghana's debt were wiped out just a decade ago. Then he comes to talk about the Africa Rising thing. He says that, the expected growth rate, 3.9%, would be the worst since the year 2000. This does not seem like the year of recovery. the government is telling us that 2015 will be, and the new budget is hardly the budget for transforming our economy. That's too much of a negative, way to look at the economy, isn't it?
No, not at all. I think that the first thing you want to do when you have a problem is to admit to the facts. Just like in 2001 when President Akuffo came, and people were, even some people in MPP were saying that he should not go HIPIC. It was not up to him. We were already HIPIC. All he needed to do was formalize the situation. I think once you admit to your problems, then you are able to position yourself to solve them. I think Nana is stating what we all have said during the budget debate, that if you look at the economic statistics, things are not good for Ghana. 3 years in a row of double-digit budget deficits is not good for us. Inflation rate, not good for us. Interest rates, 4-year high. Public debt. Look, the service of that debt, in 2015, about 9.6 billion is cedis. It's more than the total debt Akuffo inherited from Nkrumah up to Akuffo's time. Can you imagine what it is? All the debt, all the borrowing we did from Nkrumah's time to 2008, 9.5 billion. The servicing, interest, not principal, next year on our debt is larger than that. We cannot think that it is well.
The government admits that we have problems now with our economy, and that is the reason we are going to the IMF. And it's brought out a budget that is saying this budget will seek to transform the economy, giving people hope. Should Nana be scaring people, putting fear in them that 2015 is going to even be worse?
Anybody that has looked at the budget knows that it is not a budget. It's a huge gap in the budget. In fact, I'm very worried that we have not concluded negotiations with the IMF. This is a temporary budget. As far as I can tell, it does not address the issue of transformation. First of all, before you talk about transformation, you have to address the basics. It doesn't address it, because when you are just in 2011, about 3 years ago, we were growing at 15%, one of the fastest growing in the world. In 2015, we are glad to say that we only going to grow at 3.9%. I mean, look at it. Not call it what? Decline. I mean, growth is supposed to be going up, isn't it? From 15. So I thought we'll be going up. Now this is the first budget that I've seen that we call growth when you are going into reverse gear.
You're saying the government should not be realistic?
No.
And if it hadn't, you would have also been the same.
The question is, why did it take the government so long to admit this at the end of the year? In February, everybody knew that we're in this part. The IMF came, issued a statement and said, please, do something. Government said, no, we are okay. Went to Senchi and all of that. Then finally, they saw some light, which was good. So they decided that, look, we are going to try and get a program with the IMF. We are in what? December? September? How come negotiations have not been completed? It is not Einstein mathematics. There's a problem. So I think Nana it's not putting fear. Let's accept our problems and let's together see what we are going to do about it. And this is why, generally, I think that having talked about that, then he raised what I call very important broad issues. If you're going to be able to plan well, you need right data, statistics. He addressed the issue of value for money in the context of the Kasua, which is something that all of us should be engaging ourselves in. Then he talked about this education issue, and there's no disagreement. All of us know that we need good education to become very competitive. So I think people should be looking at Nana's challenge to all of us, including himself as a Ghanaian, as Kwaku said, as a good patriot. Let us accept these things and let us together sit down and see how we can address them. So I think it was a brilliant speech. Unfortunately, the focus has been on one small aspect of it, and we need to go back to the broad themes.
We'll deal with those aspects as Kessel joins us shortly.